We stood across the road from our house, trying to see into the spare room to see what Tony was up to. But it was getting dark.
This is ridiculous. He's going to see us.
Oh, don't worry, I'm sure he's far too busy sharpening his disemboweling sex toys. Oh, hi, Cynthia.
Cynthia, the geography teacher who lived a few doors down, was just passing with her dog. I told her we were just looking at our own house. It's good to just take a step back and admire it now and again, you know. What a feat of human engineering. I turned to Megan. This is embarrassing.
Okay, fine.
Relieved, I started to move towards the house, but I stopped when I realised that Megan wasn't behind me. Megan?
We couldn't see anything from ground level. We needed a higher angle. I walked up the garden path of the house opposite ours and knocked on the door. The door opened. Hello, Mr. Breen. Megan and Cian here from across the road. We're just thinking how nice it would be to catch up.
Mr. Breen looked blankly back at Megan. He didn't have time to object before she slid past him and into their home. I nodded apologetically at him and followed her in.
We sat in the Breen's living room. Mrs. Breen brought in a tray of tea.
It was really awkward. I mean, one of the worst conversations I've ever been involved in. Megan ran out of things to say almost immediately, and she didn't even have any printouts to fall back on. And then she had an idea.
This was no good. We were wasting time. I told the Breens that myself and Cian were redecorating, and could we look around their house for some ideas. Although it was the most boringly decorated house I'd ever seen.
Mrs. Breen didn't seem to object, so Megan strode out of the living room and upstairs into their bedroom.
Oh, this is magnificent. Oh, it's really gorgeous curtains. Oh, lovely fabric. Smooth action.
She said, using the opportunity to open the curtains and look at our own house across the road.
Cian made small talk with the Breens while I strained to see across the road.
Megan checked out of the conversation. I mean, she wasn't pulling her weight at all. She only checked back in to ask if the Breens had a pair of binoculars.
I told them I was a real binoculars buff and loved looking at any pair I could get my hands on. So Mr. Breen went off to look at the closet and eventually came back with some.
Mrs. Breen asked us if we'd like to see the bathroom.
Yeah, great. Why don't you just show Cian and I'll stay here and soak up the atmosphere in your bedroom. Mr. and Mrs. Breen shuffled out of the room. Cian threw me a glare as he followed them. I grabbed the binoculars and pointed them in the direction of our home. Or what I hoped was our home. The first image I saw was Ken dancing around his bedroom eating a banana split. I moved across to our house and was horrified by what I saw. Tony, standing in the window, with a pair of binoculars, staring right back at me. I yelped, dropped the binoculars and ducked down below the windowsill. I couldn't believe what I'd just seen. I fumbled around, grabbed the binoculars again, steeled myself, poked my head back over the windowsill and looked back over at our spare room. There was no sign of Tony. I wondered, had I imagined it? Had it been a trick of the shadows? But then I saw him coming through our garden gate and marching down the road.
It was a small bathroom. The three of us could barely fit into it. I was leaning awkwardly backwards over the bathtub while Mrs. Breen led me through the various features. The little bath rug, the shower head, a picture of a swan. I was about to make a comment on the display of small soaps when Megan came rushing in. Or rather, she quickly opened the door, which got blocked against Mr. Breen's foot, and then she kind of stuck her head through the gap.
He's on the move!